Just an absolute disgrace today. I'll be honest. I'm at the point where this is end of Eddie Howe now. I've had enough. I've seen enough. I've watched it game in, game out. No tactics, no progression, no game plan, no change. This fundamentally has to be the game that is the nail in Eddie Howe's coffin today. And I'll be quite honest. I'll go through the game in a second. But Eddie Howe, Jason Tyndall, go in the office today, collect your stuff, either hand in your resignation or the club, David Hopkinson, at the end of today, start lining up those interviews, mate, because this is game over. Enough. Enough bad football, enough inconsistent performances, enough picking the favourites. I'm just sick to death of watching what is a half-decent squad, not a Champions League squad, a half-decent squad, put in performances that are subpar, no desire, no belief. It's lost. It's absolutely lost. So, if you're new around here, I'm Adam. This is Two for Joy. Let's get into the match stuff and then we can have a chat about what we've just seen and how bad it really was. And we'll start off with Luke 09, obviously. The goal kick at the start of the game, Luke 09 tries to play out from the back. Nick Voltemada with a fantastic little interception. Dropped off to Anthony Gordon, who goes round one defender and puts it in the bottom left corner. And it's the perfect start, 9 minutes in. I couldn't be happier. We've started well. We've come out of the blocks. And it kind of seemed to tail off. We were desperate to get that second goal. And we looked good. We looked good to start. We looked like we had a progressive mentality. We were up for it. The fans were up for it. War flags. What an amazing display to start. Everything about this game was written for us to go out there and smash Sunderland today. And somewhere along the lines, we hit half time and it kind of starts to taper off and it tapers off. And I don't know what it is Eddie Howe is doing at half time. I don't know what chat he is having with the players. But honestly, when you see these players come back out for the second half, it's like the second half of Barcelona all over again. They've just lost the momentum, lost the will, lost the desire. And fundamentally, this is the problem with Newcastle. Start well, hit them for 30 minutes, drop off, can't keep the pace, come back out for the second half, look like a completely different team. And obviously, 57 minutes when Talby scores, it's shocking. The defending is shocking from the corner. 3 static players, I think it's Dan Burn, Nick Voltemada and Harvey Barnes, stood 3 yards from the goal, not picking up a man. They don't move. They literally don't move. They're like statues. And Aaron Ramsdale, I feel like he's going to get absolutely slaughtered for this game, but he didn't play badly. He stopped those shots. He may have punched balls back into areas, but he stopped those shots and given us a chance. Defensively, we don't control the ball. We don't control possession when the ball comes back out after we've had shots at our goal. What we do is we lump it forward. One long ball forward and then sit in deep. And this defence doesn't push up or progress. And sure enough, later on, obviously, Malik Chow having his goal disallowed where Jacob Murphy's leaning on the Sunderland goalkeeper. And I've got no complaints. To be honest, you can't do that in the modern game. If he just steps off the keeper 2-3 seconds before that ball comes in, that goal probably gets given. But if you're still leaning on him when that ball goes in the net, you can't have any complaints. And then obviously, the 90th minute, Enzo Lafay. And as soon as I saw this guy come off the bench and the mentality in our team, I knew it was coming. I could feel it was coming. I think every Newcastle fan could feel it was coming. We absolutely pissed this away. And it's one too many times for me. And I've genuinely... Eddie Howe has to understand the magnitude of this game. There's no way, after losing at Sunderland, after being smashed in the Champions League, there's no way we go into this game without him understanding the magnitude of winning the derby, of putting us back in contention for some sort of European football. And to me, when that second goal goes in, when Broby pops it in, and I'll be honest, again, Ramsdale makes the first block, static defenders. Literally static defenders. And he just gets a second swipe at it and goal. Look at Eddie Howe's face. He knows. He knows the writing is on the wall. And my biggest problem with all of this is I don't think he'll get sacked. I don't think he'll hand in his resignation. I think Piff will hold on and hold on and hold on and do the same thing as they have done for the last 2 years and pop their head in the sand and not worry about where this club is going or what the direction is. And this will be the key point, really, where we'll see what David Hopkinson or Ross Wilson are really made of as to whether they have any say in making the call to start bringing other managers in for interviews. And personally, I'm a massive fan of Eddie Howe. I thought what he's done for the last 3 years up until this season, absolutely fantastic. But that doesn't let you off the hook. Every manager has their expiry. Every manager reaches a point where they've done all they can for the club. And I feel that this is that time. I don't feel those players are bought in. And probably for the most frustrating part for Eddie Howe is it's the same favourites that he's picked all season long that are the players that are letting him down. Kieran Trippier, I thought was awful today. Dan Burn, not good enough. Anthony Gordon. You can come up for that first 9 minutes and you can run around like a headless chicken and put in a maximum amount of effort for half an hour. In that second half, you're coasting, mate. Absolutely coasting. And the desire from Sunderland today, and I hate to say it, I absolutely hate to sit here and say they deserve to beat us in both games this season. It kills me to say it. But once again, Sunderland, more desire, more passion, more of a game plan. Reggie Labrie changes the way that Sunderland play in the second half and we can't keep the ball. We literally can't keep the ball. At home, to be losing possession to a team that's probably, to be fair, their entire squad probably cost less than our transfer spend this summer. It's a disgrace. It is a disgrace. And I'm sure some people will say that I'm being overly harsh, but realistically, Eddie Howe has had the run of this. This entire football club has been built around him from the day he came in. And while he had Amanda Staveley and Murdad Gadusi, times were good. They knew how to run the football club behind the scenes. And I know everybody said they don't have the football knowledge. They brought us something different. They connected the club to the fan base. Now, I feel like the biggest disconnect between the club and the fan base is here, right in this moment. And I'm sure Eddie will come out after the game and give it the, we were unlucky. We don't normally defend like that. We've done this all season long. The amount of games we've gone 1-0 up in and thrown it away and not seen out and not been able to put that second goal, that third goal, that fourth goal in. It's a disgrace. It is a disgrace. And I don't expect Newcastle to be title challengers or top 4 guaranteed every season. But we need to compete. And even if that's just compete week in, week out against whatever club we're playing, we can get up for Manchester City, Arsenal, Chelsea, your Barcelonas. We can't get up for playing Brentford, West Ham, Everton. We've lost games this season to subpar performances against teams that are weaker, with worse game plans, with worse form. And it makes no sense. And I know this will all come back to, Eddie hasn't had the time on the training ground. We want this. He wants this. He wants to be in the Champions League. He wants to complete on all 4 fronts. If you want to do that, you have to be able to steer the team in the right direction, manage injuries accordingly. How many players have we seen this season where we've been told, like Lewis Miley, it's a dead leg? A dead leg that's been 2.5 months. It's absolutely ridiculous. Sandro Tonali, he should be fit for Sunday. it wouldn't surprise me if we don't see him for another month. It's just absolute crap. And I completely agree. First in, what a shit show. You're not wrong. What a shit show. It is absolutely ridiculous that knowing this game is going to be, it's the season definer. Nothing matters more to the fans than sticking one over on Sunderland, and you go out with a performance like that. And I'll touch on it because I don't think every player was bad on the pitch today. I thought Sven Botman was decent until he got his head injury. I thought Nick Voltemade is the first time I've seen Nick Voltemade in that centre midfield push into a space where I felt like he was playing more like a number 10 or a second striker. And sure enough, we get a goal from that. Sure enough, Nick Voltemade I thought was one of the better players on the pitch today. And sure enough, he's not the one that's favoured by Eddie Howe. So when we bring Voltemade off and we put Jacob Murphy out on the right-hand side and we start whipping crosses into the box, for who? For Anthony Gordon to win in the air. It's madness. It is absolute madness. Nick Voltemade is the tallest player on the pitch, bar Dan Burn. He's a striker. And we take him out of centre midfield and put him on the bench so that Anthony Gordon can have crosses put in for him. It's just ridiculous. We don't use our players in the correct style or the correct system. And it's been all season long. Even from the end of last season, we were poor the end of last season. After we won that cup final. And don't get me wrong, it's great. Eddie Howe has done amazing things and he'll forever be remembered. Great thanks to him. But his time is up. Since that cup final, we haven't performed anywhere near the levels that we've known of this Newcastle side, or this Eddie Howe intensity is our identity. And his inability to change tactics or have a backup plan, and I've heard him say this in so many press conferences where it's we don't need a backup plan because we believe in the system. We believe in this style will see us through. It doesn't see us through. People have figured it out. Every manager has to change. The Premier League changes. Look at Pep Guardiola. He doesn't play the same football he played 5 years ago. Look at Arsenal. They don't play the same football they played 5 years ago. Every team has to progress. The league changes. The football changes. You have to be smart enough to change with the league and still manage to get results. And I'm sorry, but we've stuck by this rigid 4-4-3 with these tactics for far too long. And we're coming undone because of it. And it really makes my blood boil because I can honestly believe, after seeing Tino Livramento come on today, I honestly believe Tino Livramento will be gone this summer. I think his head is already at Man City already. And other players that played well, I'll go on. Ramsdale. I thought Ramsdale's really hard done by today. I was really pleased when I saw the lineup come out that Ramsdale was still in there and it wasn't swapped out for Nick Pope. I had horror in my head thinking Nick Pope was going to come back in for this game. And I think Ramsdale offers us something completely different. And Lewis Hall, once again, I think this kid is world class. I think he's absolutely brilliant. But when you've got the outliers in there, and I'll go Dan Burn, Kieran Trippier, Anthony Elanga is a fraud, an absolute fraud. I know he got 2 goals against Barcelona for being in the right place. But realistically, this kid, he is way off the levels we need to have. And for £55 million, I don't know who at the football club, I can only assume it's Eddie Howe, but I don't know who at the football club sanctioned that signing. But it's absolutely fucking terrible. And Joe Willock, again, ghost today. Came on. I was fully expecting him to step it up, bring us something different to that midfield. Absolute ghost. And we've had too many of these performances that have just fallen short. And when I look at this front line, and this is what frustrates me most, and I'll take Nick Voltemade out of it because I'll be quite honest, Nick Voltemade, I think, is a fantastic player. I think he's got a high ceiling, and I think he could go on to be a really important member of this squad if we have a different manager and a different style. But if you needed here and now, Broby for Sunderland today, he bossed our defence. He gave Botman the run around. He gave Dan Burn the run around. He's physical. He's strong. He's fast in behind. He can finish. He gets in awkward positions. He cost 17 million quid. 17 million. And we'll say, well, it's the scouting. Do you think Sunderland's scouting system has had more investment than Newcastle's? Or do you think, like I do, we are just managed so poorly from the top down? It's an absolute disgrace. It's the things that are killing us that annoy me most. Like I see it in the comments now. Stop playing a winger, an out-and-out winger as the centre forward. It is exactly that. Anthony Gordon is not a striker. He doesn't make the runs into the channels correctly. He doesn't win balls in the air. He can't hold the ball up. He does what he does very well, get in behind. That's what wingers do. That's what we've profited from so much in previous seasons. Anthony Gordon being a winger, Jacob Murphy being a winger. This season, I think our wingers have assists of something like 2 between all of them. All 4 wingers, 2 assists all season. It's absolutely horrendous. And I don't know how Eddie Howe can stand there in the interviews at the end of the game and justify it. Justify it like it will get better, we'll be okay, we just need to see this through, we'll pick up some results before the end of the season and things will change. Things won't change. We will finish in the bottom half of the table this year. We will finish under Sunderland and it will be a disgrace. It will be an absolute disgrace. There's nothing more to say to it than that. The decisions have been criminal this season. I hoped we would learn and change, but everybody needs to realise that it isn't going to. No, it's not. That's the thing. It isn't going to change. The only change, and thanks for commenting, because I really appreciate you coming on, people getting involved. It's frustration all season long, and we all feel the same. And I see Newcastle fans get vilified online for saying they want Eddie Howe out or they're not happy with the performances. And if you go back I don't know, 3, 4, 5 games where people still have hope and they still believe that things can change, I don't believe it can change. I said it when we lost 3-1 to Brentford at home. I said that was it. That was the writing on the wall for Eddie Howe. This season will finish as a disappointment. I believe that our ownership should have outlined at the start of the season that you need to either go deep into the Champions League, which I felt we had a good run in, finish in a European spot, and realistically beat Sunderland in both legs to keep your job. I don't care about realistically if we finished Conference League or Europa League. I wouldn't mind. But bottom half of the table, with the money we've spent, with the investment we've had, and this is the whole thing. This is the whole, from top down, board level, all the way down. David Hopkinson was supposed to come in and review the way the club was operating, review the transfer system, the commercial revenue side of things, the football team, the management, and he says we're fully behind Eddie Howe. Now, normally when people say that, that's the kiss of death. That means you're on your way out. But I genuinely believe he means it. And it's absolutely ridiculous that a manager, I've never known a manager in the Premier League to be able to go without criticism, completely without criticism from the media, from the pundits, everybody. He is the media darling, Eddie Howe, and I'm sure it's the line him up for England. Oh, he's the top English manager in the country, but time is up. You've done a great job for 3 years. You've done a great job to win us a trophy. You've done a great job to solidify the fan base back into buying in. But time is up. Every manager has their expiry date, and your expiry date is here, Eddie. What have we got here? I genuinely think Nick will end up being a world-class Prem player, but whether he'll reach that, yeah, with this management. Exactly. I genuinely, I feel the same. There's parts of me that believe that Eddie Howe has gone out and spent money in the last part of that window, and they were panic buys. He's seen people say, this kid's a talent, this kid, he'll be a star. He's a good replacement for Alexander Isak. He scored this many goals, and they've looked at stats. And I genuinely believe they've just gone off his stats. And Eddie hasn't actually watched the boy play. Because if he had watched him play, he'd know that he needs players around him. He'd know that he's not the out-and-out finished article. He's not the runner. He's not the athlete. He's not the striker that Eddie Howe went for in every other signing this season, when he went for Delap or João Pedro or Benjamin Sesko. All of those players fit a mould of being fast, pacey, get in behind. That is not Nick Voltemade. And Nick Voltemade will suffer. His career will suffer if he stays playing under Eddie Howe. I genuinely believe that. Or he will end up wanting away from this club, and we will lose a talent where we will end up taking a loss on him because other clubs will look at it and think his performance is bad when it's actually the system he's in. Another comment in here, Magpies United. We need to say thanks to Eddie for the cup, but we need to move on. Yeah, it's international break. This is it. So Eddie's got 2 weeks now on the training ground with the players for the international break. And I genuinely believe this is the point where we need to be doing interviews. We need to be getting managers in or lining up the succession. We have to have a succession plan. We've built this far too solely based around Eddie Howe, his nephew. It's all his muckers in. Even Ross Wilson, there's reports that Eddie Howe was the one that suggested Ross Wilson as a sporting director. This screams problems. Absolutely screams problems. You can't be muckers and be mates. The football has to come first. The job has to become first. Yeah, and Wissa, do not get me started on the Wissa purchase. I completely agree. Johan Wissa is... I'll be honest, I looked through the wages at Brentford, and the highest paid player was on £75,000 a week, and Johan Wissa was one of three that was on that £75,000 a week. And Thiago, since Wissa has left, has got a bumper contract to put him up to 75 grand a week. Wissa has come into Newcastle on £140,000 a week. And I genuinely believe when it came out and he held that number 9 shirt up and he said, I've always wanted to play for Newcastle. He'd never said it publicly before. There'd never been any mention in the media of Johan Wissa coming to Newcastle. That whole thing was based around, I've always wanted to earn £140,000 a week. That is what it is. And Wayne Rooney said it on the overlap, seeing them come to lengths after when they haven't been brought on, and Johan Wissa was back of the pack. You know, realistically, is he putting in the effort? Came on for 4 minutes today. Realistically, why are you even bringing him on? If he's not fit, don't play him. If he isn't fit, stick him in the under-21s and get him fit. We're almost a whole season. He got an injury in the first international break. Didn't even play a game for us. And we're now in the last 7 games and this guy isn't fit enough to start or isn't good enough to start. £50 million wasted. An absolute fraud. I'll be quite honest. These are the decisions that will cost Eddie Howe his job, and rightly so. There should be no quarter given when it comes to where we are currently. You cannot keep going off, he was great for us last season, Eddie's done a great job, we should be proud of what we've achieved. Fantastic, we should. And Eddie Howe should have a plaque somewhere in the stadium saying he's the first manager to bring Newcastle a trophy in 70 years, and then pick up his box and his P45 and get out. Because it's done. It's over now. What have we got here? Joel Kennedy. I also think this season Yeah, we're a non-football playing side. Always pace and counter, which I agree works on certain scenarios, but how many games in a row does he set up exactly the same? Every game. Every game is about being an athlete. And I completely agree. I said this before. I would say we've got 3, possibly 4 technically gifted players in the team. And my 2 best ones are Lewis Hall and Bruno. When they're not in there, the other technically gifted player is Nick Voltemade. Realistically, you want it to be, I don't know, 7 technically gifted players and 4 athletes on the pitch. That's what you want. You want a goalie that can play with his feet. You want some centre-backs, one that's muscle, one that can play the ball out. You want technically gifted fullbacks that can go up and down, put crosses in, make things happen, like Lewis Hall, like Tino Livramento. And then have fast players. If you want athletes, get wingers that can get in behind. Absolutely fine with that. But you have to be able to control possession. And Newcastle can't control possession. Like I was saying right at the start, when you see us under pressure and that ball comes into the box, the first thing we do is one pump straight out, try and clear it 40 yards to one striker who stood up there on his own and is expected to chase down against 2 defenders or try and hold the ball up, while the rest of our midfield and defence slowly eke out from this 10 behind the ball. It's absolutely poor. You can do that style of football, or sit wingers high and a striker high and try and play in behind. You can do that against clubs that will hold more possession than you and try and catch them on the counter. You can't do that to bottom half teams in the Premier League. They will sit in and they will capitalise on the chances they get. And this is what we saw from Sunderland today. Colonel Monster, Alista Sula and Nick are actually hungry for it. I completely agree. I really feel hard done by for Willa Sula. Because as Geordie Journo's called him, I completely agree. Captain Chaos. This boy comes on and he will run his socks off. He will empty his tank in 20 minutes. And yet you see players like Joe Willock come on today and he's puffing in 5-6 minutes. And I think you're either not fit or you've just got a complete lack of effort. It's absolutely ridiculous. Again, Asula was the only player who scored a goal in the top team. Against the top side. Actually looked good. Scrappy corner, yeah. I'll be honest. But his control on the ball is a concern. I completely agree. But again, I think Willa Sula is a player that we should loan out. I think Willa Sula needs a season-long loan or a 2-season loan to a club like Frankfurt or Hoffenheim, someone mid-table Germany or mid-table France. Give him the experience of playing every week, every minute. Gain that experience at a top level rather than loan him out to somebody in the Championship or a lower league. He needs a top-level country in a mid-table side where he can get first team, regular first team. And I believe he will be a better player. Whether he will be still at Newcastle when he becomes that player, I don't know. It is one of those. Love the Miley card in the background. Yeah, I appreciate it. That was actually a mate that bought that. It's got a tiny piece of match-worn shirt in it. I cherish that because that boy is an absolute elite wonder kid. And while we're talking to Lewis Miley, I've done a video previously about how this new SCR squad cost ratio for next season will mean that clubs like us or clubs lower down in the table will be required to sell their youth players in order to spend big. And I really hope Newcastle have learnt their lesson from Elliot Anderson, because Elliot Anderson now, every time I watch this kid, I think we should have took a points deduction. If Eddie Howe was smart about it. Yakuba Minter looks a better player than the wingers we've got currently. Elliot Anderson is a better defensive midfielder than we've got currently. And it winds me up every time I see him play. And I'll always love the Geordie Maradona. Fantastic player. Absolute star boy. I hope everything goes well for him. I think he'll get a move to City in the summer. And he'll play for England. I think he's looked one of the best midfielders for England. But it's a sorry state of affairs that we keep repeating the same cycles. And I think we will carry on repeating those cycles. And the same with our youth, even with our youth now. Leo Shahar, I really want to see this kid come in as right back. And Eddie just doesn't have any faith to bring him in. And there's games where we look comfortable in the last 10 minutes of the game. We're 2-1 up, we're 3-1 up. Bring these kids on. Park Sung-soo, I watched this kid live a couple of times in pre-season. Firsthand, and I tell you, the eyeball test, this kid is hungry, he's desire, he's tricky, he's a technically gifted kid. And seeing him play in the under-21s, this kid's got some talent. He could be a really good player. And where this all falls down for me, and it really, really annoys me, is the fact that I feel like this season we've been told too many times that players are fit when they're not. That there are injuries there that are being covered up, or players being given injections and players being made to play on it. We heard it from Sean Longstaff when he left, that he played something like 6 to 8 weeks, taking injections in his ankle when he wasn't right. And then Lewis Miley's dead leg. 8 weeks, 10 weeks later. It's muscle damage. With the money that's in this game, the Saudis have some of the most state-of-the-art equipment in Saudi Arabia. They have some of the most state-of-the-art offerings for medical science and doctors. You cannot tell me that Newcastle don't know the severity of these injuries. Dan Burn being made to play with broken ribs. It's a farce. It's an absolute farce. The depth isn't deep enough in this squad, and Eddie doesn't trust these players to be able to put them out in a team that he feels is slightly weaker. So he will play those mainstays until they're wrecked beyond the point of return. And then rather than being out for 2 weeks to a month, they'll be out for 6 to 8 weeks to 3 months. We've seen it all too many times before. Bruno will be fuming watching it. Yeah, Bruno, do you know what? We've really missed him. Captain Bruno, and he is captain fantastic. There's a part of me that wouldn't blame him if an offer came in. Real Madrid came in the summer and wanted to take him away. I'd have to hold my hands up and say he deserves it. He's been fantastic for us. And if ever there was a captain that gave his heart and soul to this football club and this fan base, I've never known a player to come in and, number one, take to the fans as well as he has, but the fans take to him as well as we have. He's a special, special player, and he doesn't deserve to finish his career with one Carabao Cup medal. I'll be honest, he doesn't. And like I say, if Real Madrid is rumoured that they are interested, if Real Madrid came calling, I'd follow him. I'd cheer him on every time I saw him. He's been fantastic for us. As long as the bullshit reports about him going to Man United are fake and he doesn't end up at Manure, then I'd be okay with it. I would. As long as he goes abroad, it's like we wanted for Alex Isak. I'd have been much happier if Isak went abroad. I'd have probably clapped him on. But now, being the rat that he is and down in tools, it is what it is. No, Eddie has no faith in the youth players in general. Completely agree. It's like I was saying. It's a worry, because when I look at some of the players that, I mean, we brought in Yakuba Minteh for, I think it was about 5 million to 8 million quid, and we sold him for 40 or 35. Fantastic. It's a great profit margin, but it doesn't actually help the squad in the here and now. And I genuinely believe he would start over Gordon and Barnes this season as a left winger, and he can play both sides, so he would have probably fixed the right-hand side problem, and we wouldn't have had to have signed a no-show Anthony Elanga. But Yakuba Minteh, you know, if you watch the highlights of Brighton yesterday, he was everywhere. He was absolutely fantastic. And if we can identify targets like this, why can't we keep them?